So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And are we living in a virtual simulation? I've heard, and many people would have heard of the fact that, or the idea, the concept that ours might be a completely simulated existence. It might be just a sophisticated program that is running, one of many sophisticated simulations that might be running. But what if our world is more than just a simulation? What if it's something like a virtual game of The Sims? We already know that it's very unlikely that free will is a real thing. We are more like very sophisticated dominoes. One thing happened, then another thing happens, then another thing happens. And things are more or less predictable. But what if we are real, but our existence isn't real? What if a long time ago, just like in the Matrix perhaps, maybe this is a matrix of our own choosing. And you might say, okay, well, there's nothing special about that. But what if this is what every advanced civilization does? And that's the reason why we don't see evidence of advanced civilizations across the galaxy or the universe. I mean, when you get to a certain level of sophistication where you can trick your senses into thinking anything is real, or to the point where you can create sophisticated simulations to the degree that you don't really need to live out in a real world where you could really get hurt and really die. Why would we necessarily bother to go through all of the things that regular living entails, like actually getting a disease and actually dying or actually suffering or any one of those things? And you might say, well, why would we put ourselves in a situation where so many of us are likely to be poor and impoverished and go through pain and suffering and all of these other, a difficult life, basically? The thing about it is that every single, well, number one, it might not be at the point where we are still in control of this thing. It could have been that this is just where we are, and there's nobody where there's no counter you go to and say, okay, I'll have an order of this and I like to be. It could be that this whole system is automated and we are just some test tube baby, just like Neo in the Matrix. We are conceived and put into a pod, and this is life. And we can be anything. And maybe just like the Matrix, we thrive off of suffering. For some reason, maybe we thrive off of suffering. In this world that we live in, we can see that the people at the bottom of the barrel reproduce more. And this isn't some sort of weird problem that people do, you know, where we say, why do poor people have so many kids? Well, they have so many kids because that's what you do when you don't know how likely your kids are going to survive. And you don't have any other amusement or distraction besides having sex. So that's nature's way of doing that. But there's even the idea where, as we've seen in many other scenarios, where an AI might be indistinguishable from a quote-unquote real person in the Matrix. So how many of us are just AIs? And we think that we're real because we look like everybody else, but we're just programming put into the system. I mean, there's a lot of different ways of looking at it, but I don't think a simulation for the sake of a simulation sounds as plausible as it seems. It seems more likely that when we have a good enough virtual system, that many of us will find ourselves living in it permanently. And maybe at first you can get whatever you want, and maybe just like in that game Ready Player One, just because you're in a virtual world, it doesn't mean that you get everything that you want. You still have certain limitations, and you might just be poor, and you might suffer, and you might have a lot of pain, and just like in the real world, most people can't get exactly what they want, but this might still be better than the quote-unquote real world. Now, there are a lot of things that need to be figured out if we are living in some sort of a virtual world with a body external to this, such as, well, what happens when we die? And how do more players, more people get born, or get to be conceived and be born? So it's not to say that I have it all worked out and yeah, this is exactly how it could be, but it seems like there could be a good reason why this might be our big problem going forward. Whereas if this isn't a simulation, what stops the whole of society from just wanting to live only in the simulation? It's a bit like, and I think this is where I started off. Right now, many of us are stuck in our phone. And as Elon Musk would have said, we are already to an extent part technology and part human. It's just that the bandwidth is really low. That communication, that connection with the phone and social media it's a very slow. It takes as long as your finger takes to tap on a like or to swipe up or left or right and interact with the screen, which is really slow. If we could do it as fast as thought, with no need to move our finger to touch the interface, to send the communication out over the internet, to reach the server, to send back feedback. So right now, we are already, most of us, many of us, we're already at that point. And we hear about people saying how, oh, I'm not going to be on my phone, or I'm not going to be on my computer. But we're already, most of us, stuck in that. And I think that as the semblance of the world and our interaction and the bandwidth increases between us and technology, what is going to stop us from completely submerging ourselves, even to the point where we can get physical feedback from technology? There's no sign that we would be pressing the brakes on that. If Elon is able to succeed and we no longer have to focus our eyes on the road in order to drive, that's just, if you have an hour's commute or half an hour's commute, that's just that extra time that you're going to spend on the phone. If Elon is able to make that connection between our brains directly to technology through Neuralink, that's just going to be more hybridization, more time spent connected to the cloud and to social media and to the internet as a whole. And we have no signs that we want to break away from that and go out and play in a field or do so many things. Yeah, there are a few people who don't mind being disconnected, who want to go rock climbing for a day or a couple of weeks or be disconnected from the grid for however long, but that is not the vast majority of us. I think the writing's on the wall as to where we are going to end up being probably completely submerged in technology. And what? Sending out drones to do things that our bodies could do, and getting more and more scared of what the real world is like, the way that we're scared of strangers already, the way that many people are reluctant to talk to people in the street or people that they meet that they don't know. It's interesting, but I think there's a certain trajectory that we're on that even, and don't even get me started on what COVID-19 is doing to push us in that direction even further, even faster. I think it's probably not in doubt that as more things like these happen, it's almost inevitable that that's the path that we're going to be on. And maybe we already took it. And maybe this is where we are. Anyway, guys, you can wish me lucks. You can like or unlike. You can comment, share, or subscribe. And of course, you can do nothing. Peace.